Greetings, everyone. Nate the Nerdarchy here from Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds, hanging out with some nerds.
Nerdarchy is Ted.
Nerdarchy is Dave.
And today we continue our intro to D&D, the Warlock.
We want to start this video by thanking Easy Roller Dice for sponsoring it. Whether it's your first set of dice or your 100th set of dice, Easy Roller Dice. Hey, in the description below, you know what else you'll find? You're going to find the link to easyrollerdice.com/Nerdarchy, as well as a one-time use 20% coupon code. So go get your Easy Roller Dice.
All right, so today we're talking Warlock, intro to D&D.
Right, what does it mean to be a Warlock? Who's going to want to play a Warlock? So I feel like historically there's a lot of spellcasters that we've seen in different novels and fictions that could or could not be a Warlock. But Warlock in 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons is a very specific type of caster. They actually draw their arcane power from having a pact with an otherworldly being.
So as opposed to the typical wizard who studies and figures out the secrets of magic, these guys and gals literally have the ability to draw power from another source.
Yeah, it's just granted to them, almost like a cleric, but different.
Right.
So now delving into Warlock, where can we find the Warlock in the Player's Handbook?
Starts on page 105.
All right, and so now the Warlock is different from the Wizard and Sorcerer in the sense that they're a little bit more hardier. They get a higher hit dice, not as much as the Warrior, but they're on par with like the Bard and the Rogue. So they're in the medium hit die level,
which is going to allow them to survive better in combat. And we'll get into this part later, but some of them actually are more interested in going into the thick of it, if you will.
That's absolutely true. Now, when it comes to their saving throw, because they are a charisma caster, charisma is one of their good saving throws, as well as wisdom.
Which is interesting since they're, getting their source of power from another source. They need to be hardy of mind as well.
Or some might argue that the opposite of that.
Now, might not been such a good decision.
Yeah. So now when it comes to their proficiencies with armor and weapons, they don't get as many as some others, but they do get access to light armor and some simple weapons.
Which shows that there is some combat training, bestowed upon them or, that they have access to.
Now what about skill proficiencies? How do they make out in that regard?
Well, skills, they've got can choose up to 2. And they're mostly knowledges with a little bit of deception and intimidation thrown in.
More like social interaction type stuff.
Yeah, social interaction as well as just, different understanding of the world. And they don't get any tool proficiencies.
So it's pretty much on par with the low tier of skill usage for the other classes.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So now let's delve into what really distinguishes the Warlock from other classes. And one of those things being the fact that they start making choices right away at first level, kind of like the cleric.
So the first thing that they get access to is their pact magic. Or their pact in general, is you choose what being or what type of being you're actually making a pact with, and that is going to flavor your character or your class throughout your career as a Warlock.
Oh, you don't say. Tell me more about these pacts.
Well, the ones that are in the Player's Handbook, you can go with the Fiend Pact, which means you're literally making a pact with something from the lower planes, from the hells itself.
You sold your soul to the devil.
Indeed. You could reach out to the Fae and the Feywild, creatures of fairy origin, if you will.
They like making bargains.
And they like making bargains.
So, like the Seelie and Unseelie quartz from mythology and folklore.
Right. And then last but not least, you could reach out to something from beyond the Eldritch Horrors, Cthulhu. You're reaching out to the outer planes for, some kind of assistance.
Or maybe a tentacle from another plane reaches out to you.
Well, that could be it as well. And, there's nothing to say that you couldn't say, as opposed to you reaching out to them, something could reach out to you and be like, oh, do you want power? So you can go in both directions with that.
And that category is actually called otherworldly beings.
Yes.
So that could actually be a catch-all for a lot of the different things. It could be a celestial creature. It could be not celestial in the sense of divine, goodly gods and that thing, but celestial is in heavenly bodies.
Right.
So yeah, so there's a lot of interesting ways to go with that. One of the other defining traits I hear about the Warlock is their invocations. What exactly does that mean?
Well, the invocations are going to be unique supernatural powers that they're granted by their patron, and they can be anything from, being able to jump all the time, like as per the spell, or being able to see in all types of things, including magical darkness, like
So
that kind of supernatural effect.
it can augment your spell casting. It can augment your physical abilities, or it has the ability to kind of gear towards what you get later, and we'll get into that in a moment. Is your boons.
Right. Also, it also can increase your skills as well.
That's true.
So invocations it's basically this extra mechanical component to then really diversify your warlock and make him different than other warlocks.
And in essence, like different from all the other characters as well, because you have this pool of choices that no other character class has to choose from.
So now you had mentioned something about pack boons, and this is something they don't get at first level, but a little bit later.
Right. As with all classes, they have archetypes that they typically choose from, and the way that's done with all classes is you make these choices at third level. Your packed boon is what sets you truly apart from the other warlocks. You have the Pact of the Tome, which is going to make you more spellcastery. You have Pact of the Blade, which makes you more of a melee combatant, and then you have Pact of the Chain. You want to get into what Pact of the Chain is?
Well, Pact of the Chain allows you to cast Find Familiar and also have a familiar, and the familiar can be something a little bit more extraordinary than the regular like bat, cat, rat kind of thing. It can be like an imp or a pseudo-dragon or a quasit or a sprite as some example.
Yeah, so you get a special companion or helper that you wouldn't normally have access to, especially not necessarily at low levels. So the boons is just another way to change up your character. So you could have a patron that is the fiend, but you could have 3 different warlocks that look completely different because of the choices they've made. Now the other thing I guess we ought to mention too is a warlock is a full spellcaster, but not like the other spellcasters. They use charisma, as we mentioned. Now, they're different in the sense that they get a very limited number of spell slots to use. They get a limited number of spells that they can get, but their difference is as they gain in level, their spell slots grow in power. So, all of them are the same, and they just get stronger and stronger as they go up in level. And also, a warlock gets back all of his spell slots, after a short rest compared to other casters who have to take a long rest.
So a wizard, has the ability to get some spells back after a short rest, but the warlock gets them all, whereas a cleric has to wait for a whole night to get everything back.
And rather than having a progression of 1st through 9th level spell slots, warlocks, their spell slots transform and grow in power up to from like 1st level all the way to 5th level at the highest level of warlock, and you also gain access to more of them. I think up to 4 in total.
So what this means is, on average, the warlock will always cast stronger spells than your other casters. They just don't get to cast as many necessarily, unless they get to take in a lot of naps throughout the day.
Another thing to note is that if you're into multiclassing, warlocks do not count as full casters or half casters or any of that kind of stuff for adding spell level power.
For their multi-class
for the
rules.
multi-class rules.
They're their own thing.
Yeah.
So all that being said, who is going to make the best warlock?
Well, it's charisma casting, and that's going to take me right to half elf.
Every time with the half elf.
Well, with sorcerer, with bard, with warlock, that's their bread and butter. But dragonborn also get a bonus to charisma. Tieflings also get a bonus to charisma.
And drow, with their bonuses to dexterity and charisma, make good casters.
Lightfoot halfling. So there's a bunch of sub races that get a bonus to charisma and then to something else. And depending on what kind of warlock you want to play, this could be very important as well, because like we said, there's different ways of playing the warlock from those choices. So you're going to want to really select your race very carefully. But that being said, all walks of life, all different people are going to seek out power. So it is fitting for almost any race to have warlocks amongst them.
And depending upon how you're actually playing your warlock, you know, the charisma might not actually mean anything to you as part of it.
That is correct.
So you can play your warlock any way that you want. So if you have any questions about Warlock, how to play them, what else might be good for them, there's a great part to continue that discussion that's down in the comments below. Either ourselves or some of our awesome fans will be more than happy to help you out. While you're down there, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Don't forget to check out easyrollerdice.com/Nerdarchy and look for that special coupon code in the description.
You can also check out the articles over at nerdarchy.com.
So until next time,
Stay nerdy. So I feel like historically there's a lot of spellcasters that we've seen in different novels and fictions that could or could not be a warlock. But warlock in 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons is a very specific type of caster. They actually draw their arcane power from having a pact with an otherworldly being.
So as opposed to the typical wizard who studies and figures out,
Sorcerer in the sense that they're a little bit more hardier. They get a higher hit dice, not as much as the warrior, but they're on par with like the bard and the rogue. So they're in the medium hit die level,
which is going to allow them to survive better in combat. And you know, we'll get into this part later, but some of them actually are more interested in going into the thick of it, if you will. The secrets of magic. These guys and gals literally have the ability to draw power from another source.
Yeah, it's just granted to them, almost like a cleric, but different.
Right.
So now delving into Warlock, where can we find the Warlock in the Player's Handbook?
Starts on page 105.
All right, and so now the Warlock is different from the Wizard and Sword Dice. Hey, in the description below, you know what else you'll find? You're going to find the link to easyrollerdice.com/Nerdarchy, as well as a one-time use 20% coupon code. So go get your Easy Roller Dice.
All right, so today we're talking Warlock, Intro to D&D.
Right, what does it mean to be a Warlock? Who's going to want to play a Warlock?
Greetings, everyone. Nate the Nerdarch here from Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds, hanging out with some nerds.
Nerdarch is Ted.
Nerdarch is Dave.
And today we continue our Intro to D&D, the Warlock.
We're going to start this video by thanking Easy Roller Dice for sponsoring it. Whether it's your first set of dice or your 100th set of dice, Easy Roller